Action.
Welcome back to Some Parts Not Included, a podcast where three lifelong amputee friends hang out and talk about all things amputee related. My name is Amanda Marie. I'm a right leg amputee, and these are my co-hosts, the Jamies.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm a right arm amputee.
And I am James. I'm a left arm amputee. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Today, we are going to talk a little bit about our youth days. So some things that we really maybe experienced a lot more in our youth as amputees, or some things that we noticed may have been a little bit different as amputees in our youth. So we'll have some really fun stories for you and some really interesting things. I can actually start if you guys want.
Yeah.
In my youth, I was a very cute child. I haven't lost my adorableness, obviously. And I was the poster child for a charity, one of the charities that we have in Ontario. I think that they're nationwide as well. And so I was in a lot of telethons, in a lot of commercials, and on a lot of posters just kind of across the country, which was really, really interesting. As a little girl, I learned how to do a little bit of acting and how to remember lines. I got to dress up in really fun costumes and things like that. So that was super fun, and I really, really enjoyed that. And it was also kind of neat too, because it was like a thing that my parents and I did together. And so that was kind of really interesting. I remember all of those things very vividly. I remember being in telethons. I remember having lines in the commercials. I remember the long days filming commercials and things like that. So that was really interesting too. I also, with my parents' help, did some like news articles and things like that too. I think that that I'll be able to send a photo for that to be posted here, so you guys can see me and my family in that news article. And so those were really interesting experiences as well, to see my face kind of posted in many places or seen in many places and things like that.
I definitely enjoyed that picture of the article you shared.
Oh,
you're gonna flash that, right, Amanda?
Yes.
Like you're gonna
I'll flash
the people.
it, all right.
It's very adorable. You have a myoelectric. You have like an early myoelectric arm.
I do.
That thing looks like it's overpowering you, though. It is so large compared to little Jamie in this picture. I absolutely adore it. But it's funny, eh? Like, it's growing up, I always thought it was just so normal. I didn't really question why. I was always being interviewed all the time, and you're doing different radio commercials or just interviews for your local newspaper. And I used to get so nervous, and I'd sit there and like practice, and you get all these tips and help with it, which clearly radiates now in my adult life. Just kidding. I don't feel that put together in any way whatsoever. But one thing that they used to do sometimes, though, unless it was your voice, well, for the most part, I never remembered it being a problem on the radio. But did either of you ever have it where they'd put out something in the newspaper and it was clearly misworded from what you had said, or they kind of messed up some details in some kind of way?
Oh yeah, big time. I have a story related to that one. I remember once talking to an interviewer, and they really wanted to focus around like teasing and staring and stuff. And I think I mentioned like, yeah, I'm teased here and there, but the way they wrote it in the article was like, it was relentless. They made it like, I was so like, picked on all the time, and he gets teased and bullied daily. And they just had such a focus on it that I was like, that's not what I said at all. And plus I was 16. I was in high school. So it was like, it was actually embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. That's the angle they wanted to take. And I remember that. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this is not like, I want to show the positive stuff. Like, I play hockey and all the different cool stuff that I do and the limbs that I have and what I've accomplished. And like, it was like, James is pees daily, and he's so hard done by, and he gets every 3 o'clock at the flagpole every day. He gets beaten up, and it was so brutal. It was so yeah. So
Uh,
there,
I had one. It's funny you say embarrassing because I felt embarrassed as well. I was also a teenager. I can't remember exactly how old, but um definitely a teenager that got super embarrassed because they had asked me if I played any sports. And I said, yes, I was like super into sports growing up. And so they're like, oh, what kind of sports do you play? And so I start listing them off. And I made a comment about how much I loved football. That was all I had said, and then when they came out and put it out in the newspaper, they made this big thing about how I love to play football because I got to tackle all the boys and flirt with them, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "This is so embarrassing as a teenager." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, and it also invalidated. I was like an equipment and sports manager, so if I wasn't able to be like a person on the team and play the sport, I usually got behind the scenes and did stuff um that helped out with the team in other ways. So we would just call it like a sports manager because I tackled like a lot of different tasks. So the whole focus was like I was a busy kid and I was able to do all these things, and they just turned it around, and I don't want to say like they didn't sexualize it, but they certainly turned it into like a whole different angle, and I'll never forget it till this day because my mom thought it was hilarious. Like she laughed so hard because she was there and she was like, that is not at all what you said. But at this point, I was a teenager. We're already used to people kind of like journalists twisting things we say or misprinting. Usually it was like they would misprint my actual diagnosis or left leg, right leg, upper, lower, below the knee, that kind of thing, right? So that is usually where they would mess up. But this time I was traumatized from it because I had to go to school. The whole school had like read the paper, pinned it up in the hallway and everything, being like proud I was in the paper. And I'm like, this is embarrassing because it makes it seem like the reason I'm doing these sports is to like flirt with the guys, which wasn't my intention at all. It was to prove people
That's
wrong when they told me
that's
I couldn't do sports. So
there
that's
are some
amazing
bad
though.
reporters out there.
yeah. And I'm not saying they were a bad reporter per se,
I
but they
am, man. I'm saying the one that reported on me was. It's reporters that already have a narrative in their head, and they
yeah.
go into it with that, and then they try and follow that narrative rather than listen to the actual person. Like they want you to speak on this or that, and then they just inflate it so much.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, growing up, I was involved in a lot of sports and like I don't know what it was like for either of you as a kid. Well, I guess I do to some extent, but I know it like meeting you through amputee related things, not just like we're hanging out on the streets with our normie friends. But what was it like for you, or like how do you even see that James with between like you and Ava and relinking stuff from your youth?
Well, I mean, well, one thing is she just turned 3 this past week, so it was just her third birthday party.
Happy
So happy birthday,
birthday,
Ava. She's in to say that she is only 3, so um, other than just a few like little milestones I hit up until that point that I literally can't even remember. It'd be more my parents that remember. There hasn't been too much, but I know that this past week she also got fitted for her and received her very new bike device. So
Ooh.
that was super exciting. I might even be able to send some photos so our audience can see that and her on the bike in the appointment. And
Aw.
she is so adorable. She was so happy, and of course, she has such great prosthetists too that we're ready to go on the ball when we got there and like had the device ready to go before our meeting even happened. So we just it was she just got right in there and was able to get on her bike. She doesn't know how to ride a bike just yet because she obviously needs the device first, right? But I don't remember getting my first bike device. I'd have to talk to my parents. I like slightly remember learning to ride my bike and stuff. But that's
I
what that.
barely remember riding bikes ever, but
Yeah,
Really?
well, I know that some people can do it without a bike. I know a lot of amputees that did it without a bike device actually, but you're leaning forward. It's a lot harder. So,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So that's a little update there on Ava and stuff. But oh yeah, and I did a sweet new. I like every once in a while I like change the design on my arm. So here I'll show that to people. I'm always excited about
while you
this.
were at the prosthetist, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, actually, I put this away, but I got a nice, sweet new design on the arm.
Oh,
As you can
cool,
see, I like
yeah.
my music. I like my bands. So I've been doing this for like a
Like
little bit,
her.
where I've been just like ordering my own decals and like slicing and cutting them
That's cool.
perfectly, and like changing up the design of my my electric arm. So, um, that's pretty sweet. That's something I did this past week. Switch every once in a while. I'll switch up the design. So I'm pretty stoked about that one. Um,
Nice.
and it kind of reminds me of my youth because as a kid, I always had cool arms that.
Oh my gosh. My prosthetist, maybe like a year ago, found one of my sockets from when I was in high school, in my later like high school years. And
Nice.
they were like, they brought it out and they were like, do you want this? And it was like a time capsule, is what it
Please tell
felt
me
like.
it was like Britney Spears or NSYNC or something.
No, it
Oh
was.
wait, I got the wrong person. Never mind.
Yeah.
I totally got the wrong I don't know why I thought that would be. I don't know why I thought that.
I was
Someone
like,
else. It's another friend of mine who's an arm amputee that told me that they got their old arm and that's what was on it. It was like Britney Spears and
not
something.
that there's anything wrong with either of those bands, but definitely not either band would I had put any poster up of
You would have bands like this on your leg back in the day, I'm
that.
sure.
That's correct. Yeah, I
Yes.
was definitely up
How
to
stupid of me.
date.
What a fool I am for making that mistake.
My favorite band is Tool.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I had Britney Spears on my leg. No, funny enough, I had all pictures of my friends. So, I'm pretty sure you guys were on
Wow.
there. Yeah, actually, I know a very
No, I
specific
never did
picture
that,
of
but
you.
I do recall you talking about this leg.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I actually feel like maybe I had reached out to you and took a picture and was like, "Oh my god, this is
Oh
actually
yeah, am I on
on
there?
my leg." Like this photo
That's
is really,
awesome.
really
Man, what a
funny.
great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. So, and honestly, I'm really glad I did. It's just like the pictures that are on there, are like, there's some ones that I'm like, wow, was I ballsy putting a picture of that person on there? But it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you had like a crush on somebody, that kind of thing. That was like yeah, let's not even get in further. I'm incriminating myself further by saying anything more. I speak I say no more words. I want a lawyer.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be a little awkward. Like, oh, I just got my new arm, and it's all the girls I have a crush on, whom I just like snapped a photo of somehow.
No,
I don't. Like, I'm not really
no.
friends with
It
all of
would
them.
be like pictures of me and my friends that I had a crush on, or like in
Oh,
addition to my best friends. And you know what I mean? So I look
yeah,
back and I'm like, but I'm thinking of it this context. I was kind of friends with them in high school, and then I took a picture with them and put it on my freaking leg permanently to walk around. So at any given time, if someone wanted to look at my leg and I showed them, I would literally be like, "Yeah, I have a picture of you on my leg." Which,
That would
in
be
that
amazing though.
context, hmm?
I get
nice.
how it would be embarrassing, but that would be amazing. I feel I would.
Yeah. So at the time, I didn't think anything of it, but as an adult, I look back and I'm like, "Damn,
That's
what
pretty
was
awesome.
like? What was I?" Yeah, like what was the result I was hoping for with that? But anyway, funny
Growing up,
times, funny times.
I never put anything on my arms, but
No.
no, not really. But I do have like a pretty funny story about me like ruining one of my arms. So I grew up in old homes, and old homes that were heated by wood stoves. So there
I know where
are
this is going.
so one of the first homes that I grew up in that was heated by a wood stove, the wood stove was right near the front door. And then another one that I grew up in, two wood stoves. One of them was in the kitchen and the other one was in the basement. But the first one that I grew up in, the one where the wood stove was near the front door, which is also in the kitchen and dining room. I as a little girl, it was the middle of winter. I came in, I took off my jacket, I threw it on the floor like any little girl does. And then, in order to take off my boots, I braced myself with my artificial arm against the wood stove to kick off my boots.
And I'm sure you just had a melted pile of rubber after that.
That's exactly what happened. And I picked it up, and it was I'm pretty sure it was a Mayo. I picked it up, and it was just like completely melted. Yeah,
that's rough.
Not great.
Melted down to the metal.
Yeah,
That's
not great.
Amazing.
So I wouldn't say that I had designs, but I did some pretty funky things, I think.
I could go all day about stories where I ruined arms.
Did you, on the flip side, no doubt, James just shoves his fingers in saws. So
yeah.
Did you guys ever hurt yourself on your leg or arm?
Did I what?
For a second, I was making it seem like we were all leg amputees. Did you ever pinch like your fingers or hurt yourself in any way on your artificial arm?
Like with our artificial arm? Did we ever hurt our?
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
I still do like all the time, because I think I told this story in the podcast already, where when I put my arm on, I sometimes shove it into my thigh.
Yeah.
Push my nub on it, and if I don't know, usually my arm's always off, but the odd time it might be on, and I've grabbed myself right on the like inner thigh, very close to the private region where where it would be a very dangerous grab. But I pinched, the inner thigh. It's and squeezed, and it's not nice.
I used to accidentally get, I don't know if it was an accident because I was a curious kid playing with my leg, I guess, but I would go to do something and get my fingers pinched in the knee just because I would go to like walk or move or do anything, and then the mechanism would move. So that sucked. I remember crying a lot about that. One of my very first memories of being a human being in general. I was going to say of being an amputee, but I don't have any other memory before this one. Is I was 9.5 months old. And I remember my surgery, of which my foot was amputated off. And I wouldn't even have believed that I knew this memory. Usually when I tell people this, they're like, no, you just remember your parents telling a story or whatever. And to those people, they say, screw you.
Yep.
Because I already know, because I get called out every time I tell this story, and I'm like, okay, but whatever. So I was pretty young at the time, and I don't know about, well, I guess you guys didn't have to go through a bunch of surgeries, but as a kid, I didn't know what every surgery I was going into was for, right? Like your parents tell you at an age level of what's happening, and you don't fully understand. So I didn't know all the details of every surgery, what age, what happened to me, until much later when we had to do speeches at school. And then I started using that as sometimes to do a speech on. So I learned a lot about myself like in grade 3 or 4. But when I was younger than that, I went up to my mom and she was cooking in the kitchen, and I said, "Hey, do you remember which surgery it was? All the time it comes to my mind. And I'm so curious because I can see things and I remember feeling certain things, but I don't know which surgery it was from." And I described the room, what angle I was on, who else was in the room at the time. So there was like at least 2 other patients from my view. I remember being, um, I remember on my left side, there was like a light above the person that was like shining down on them. And I also remember everybody coming in and everyone had like one stuffed animal or balloon, or there was like balloons in the room. So I remember all these details, but very specifically I said to her as I'm describing it, I said, I remember looking down and feeling like something was missing. And I couldn't describe the feeling at the time because I was a child and I didn't know what this felt like. But as an adult, I can look back and say, this is what I was feeling. And I felt like something was gone. And I remember reaching down to the end of my stump and seeing brown bandages there. And so when I asked my mom that, she like stopped what she was doing in the kitchen and turned around and said, I've never told you about that surgery. And that was when you had your foot amputated at 9.5 months. And she was
Wow.
like, you just described the room like you just described everything like to a T. And at this point, like your parents aren't telling you all these details,
Mhm.
right? So, but it's very neat to me because I still to this day have a very vivid memory of the emotions and just like the physical things in the room of what was going on. And it's funny because I remember my parents, like my whole family coming in and bringing me one thing each and singing to me and whatever. And my dad was like, "Well, do you remember what we were singing?" I'm like, "No, I have no idea. I don't remember what you were singing." Like lyrics were beyond me at this point, right? Like, but anyways, he informed me that it was Christmas music because I was an October baby. And so at this point, like all I really knew was Christmas songs, apparently. So I'm like, oh, that's why I hate Christmas music now. Okay.
That's hilarious. I can't believe you remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like so the emotions. And sometimes I'll just be like, actually, it started flashing back to me recently where and I'm not talking about like having a dream and you see your dream. I actually mean like visual flashbacks and feelings like when I'm trying to like go to sleep at night. And I'm like, wow, that's really strange that that memory is like popping out. But that's just all the trauma from like the more recent stuff going on in my
Do you, yeah,
life.
yeah. Do you think that because it was such an emotion filled
Yes.
time that that's probably why you remember it? I mean, that's a
Yes.
very young memory. That's
I don't believe that you usually retain things under maybe like the age of 3 or something unless
yeah.
you consider it to be like a big deal or traumatic. So the
Or unless
reason
you're
why
a
they
Pisces, you don't remember anything past a month ago. But yeah.
um, so yeah, I do, Jamie. Yes, the answer is yes, and the doctors have indicated that is exactly why they try to do the surgeries as young as possible.
Wow.
Um, with something like this, they said, yeah, I could have had it done later on, which obviously would have affected my walking and the use of a prosthesis and everything. But more importantly, they said that the younger you do it, the less likely they are to remember and have that trauma. And so it's not surprising. Like when I tell doctors about it, they're like, wow, that's incredible, but we believe it because it's such a traumatic thing to happen to the body that
Yeah.
you either black it out or you retain it forever. So, and
Of course.
honestly, I can't say it's a negative. I don't associate it with a negative emotion behind it now. I will say it's just like this weird feeling of just feeling like something is missing from you suddenly. And I don't know how to describe it much better than that. I don't want to say it's like abandonment or, like I don't feel like I'm missing a part of me per se, but then maybe I do feel that way. That you're like my long lost foot, which I
I was
You should have
connected to
kept it
that
in a
thing,
jar.
literally.
yeah. James, I asked, why did we not keep my foot? I wish I had it. I don't care how creepy that is. I still stand by that. If I had my baby foot in a jar, I'd have that thing on display right here. No, I'm just kidding. That's Lola's dog shelter.
That's,
That's
you know what? Like, that's a really interesting question for our viewers. Would you keep a part of yourself if you had the choice, like, would you keep it in like a jar, like in the whatever you had, that fluid that keeps
That's
it?
gotta be a resounding no.
You
Really?
wouldn't?
You wouldn't?
I don't know. I don't know.
Jamie would.
Oh
You're
yeah,
morbid and creepy. Yeah, I was like, she would have like spotlights above it.
absolutely, I would. Absolutely.
That's a good question, though, I guess, because there are a lot of people, most people, I mean, a lot of the amputee groups I'm in that have like amputees from all over the world. Most people, it's like they've lost limbs or had them amputated, right? So it's like, would you keep it? Maybe the
The other,
question's even come up before on those groups, but
I think there is someone who did.
there has to be.
No,
I
I actually feel like this is true, and I recently heard about it. I don't want to quote the wrong creator who it was, so I won't quote anybody. But I swear that because I watch a few different amputee YouTube channels, and I swear one of them recently said that they actually did keep part of their amputation because it was an option because it happened in maybe the past like 5 to 10 years. So obviously everything's like a lot different. But my mom was like, no, it was illegal. Like you can't, that's medical waste. You're not allowed to bring that home. There's a lot of problems with
I feel
doing
like
that.
if I had the choice, I would keep it, and then I would also like throw it parties. Like it would be like, oh, this is your birthday, which is the surgery day, right? Like,
Oh man, I wish I knew that surgery. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to find that out. That's
actually, yeah, that's
interesting.
super important,
Surgery day.
Amanda.
How do I not know the day that like my
Yeah,
foot was cut off? I'll find
yeah.
out. Well, I was 9.5 months. I guess I could roughly do the math, but I mean, I'll
No,
pin
you
it
need to
down.
know the exact day.
Yeah,
James
yeah,
and
yeah.
I
We're gonna
could
have
just use our birthdays for our like, yay, we're
yeah,
amputees. Like,
amputee day.
Pretty much.
I've never even thought about it before, but I am so for throwing whatever you want to call that an ampuversary.
celebration. Yeah, yeah. See if you can.
Anniversary.
Oh my gosh, you could see if you can talk to your limb.
Okay, this is
Like, we started off this as like what it was like to be a child with in
this
our
is what
youth.
happens when you do a podcast with two morbid people and a regular person. Which me, I
Here
am.
we are. Would you keep your foot on a
I'm
shelf?
the regular person this time. But
I've never once claimed not to be morbid. I'm well aware that's how we deal with
let's
things.
keep our amputated pieces and throw it parties and talk to them. And how are viewers feeling out there about that? Hey, where'd you go? Oh, they're gone. Wait, no, we got some new viewers though. Awesome.
Oh my god.
Some new people jumping on.
Whatever. Whoever we
We'll have a
attract.
seance for our limbs.
we'll
Do
attract
you
the
guys ever
attract.
keep? Do you guys? Have you kept any of your limbs from when you were a kid?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them?
All
Oh my
the
god,
ones.
dude! I've lost so many of them. I can't even believe it. Like I don't even know where they went or how they could have been misplaced.
So
One
every time. Oh, what?
I think I have one, maybe. I think my dad has one Mayo.
I have my
Baby
earliest Mayo. I have my baby Mayo, but all my like very cool designed arms, I don't know where the heck any of them went.
I still have my baby leg, and I think my very first leg I ever had. And in college, I hung it up on my wall because I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And so, just to go along with my morbid stories and continue them, all the rest of the legs. So, sometimes for those that are watching and don't know, you don't always get like a brand new leg every time. Sometimes you use different components of it. And so, when there was a component that broke down, or a leg that broke down that was like no longer useful, we would take it home with us and we would use it for Halloween decorations.
Of course.
And
I
I
have a
still
bag full
do.
of arms.
And we still do. So actually, like one of the themes I often do outside on my porch is just a bunch of amputated limbs hanging everywhere, which Why not? But everyone, and my mom used to use them all the time. And then when she passed, I inherited all my Halloween limbs back. So they're covered in like fake blood or used for props and that kind of stuff. So, and
Perfect.
her and I always got everyone asking, like, those look so real and cool. Like, where did you get those? We're like, yeah, they cost an arm and a leg. Not your cheapest Halloween decorations, right?
It's, it's really funny
Literally.
because I cleaned my linen closet not too long ago. And weird thing, and people are going to know a lot of weird things about me. One of the things is I keep my old arms in my linen closet. I don't know why that seems like a good place, but
Where the
it
hell else
just
you gonna
is.
keep it?
And I have like 5 old arms in the linen closet. Like, I should probably start using them in like Halloween decorations and stuff. And
Yeah.
not only do I have old arms, I have old gloves for the arms
Yeah.
in the linen closet as well, which
Oh,
are also creepy, right? Because gloves without structure,
creepier. Yeah.
it's like skin without, like, it's creepy. It's really creepy.
You
Yeah.
could do like a leather face theme going on at your house,
But
like a Texas chainsaw.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Maybe I should cut them up and try and stitch them together.
There you go.
Please do. Please do. And then I want pictures. Like, we need to report back and follow up with this.
This
We
went down
tried
a
to
hole.
even get away from morbid stories. We like we didn't even go anywhere. We just went right back. James tried.
I know. I tried to like turn it around. I also have a closet full of old limbs. It's actually this closet right over here to the right of me.
And you've never thought of doing
No, I
anything
have
with
thought
them?
about it, but I always like I'm not like I don't know. I don't go all out for Halloween decorating and stuff.
Mm.
I should. Yeah, I don't. I decorate more for like Christmas.
Me too.
I'm the kind
You
of
won
person that's like,
Jamie
oh
over.
crap, it's Halloween tomorrow. I better think of a costume.
Oh my gosh. I
And then I end up
already
being SpongeBob.
I've always been like a huge Halloween person. Just growing up, my birthday's near Halloween, so that was always a common theme. And
I like
often
Halloween.
we would use my amputation as a costume, like try to tie it in with
Oh yeah, I do the same thing now. Like if
which
anyone
like
has any good
I look back and I think to myself like, oh, definitely morbid that I would do it, but I had to go around in a wheelchair for Halloween. So as a kid, to be able to actually participate, it was way too exhausting to walk around, go up and down stairs as a leg amputee, and I did not. So instead, what I would do, see, we're tying back, we're talking about being a child again.
We went
but
back,
when
James. We told you we would.
yeah, exactly. We just digressed for a few minutes and probably will again. But my dad was a mathematician. And so for him, everything is about a competition. So he wanted to make sure that we got to 100 houses every single year. So it'd be me, my brother, my dad that would go out and do trick or treating. And I'm not even kidding you. If it was like 99 houses, I swear that man, we'd be walking through blizzards for like an hour trying to find a last house. And he would just like start pounding on people's door and they'd be like slicing cheese to like hand out just so that way we like hit the 100, but whatever. But I would not be able to have done like 10 houses, let alone 100. So I would go in my wheelchair and my dad would basically push me around and my brother would go up and down the stairs and then be like, hey, that's my disabled sister. Can you toss her some candy as well? So, which is always just such a fun time. Yeah.
Just toss her some candy.
I'm sure you got more candy because of that.
Sometimes, but a lot of the time they actually blame my brother for lying and then he was trying to just get more candy. So that was actually more of a common battle we had with it.
So you
However,
were saying that you did not get the 100 houses that your dad really, really wanted.
No, we always hit it.
I'm just
I don't think there's yeah, no.
I feel like I
I
did
was just
that with
planting
Ava.
a weird seed in your dad's mind, but obviously you avoided it.
Yeah, I feel like I did that with Ava this year, and I feel really bad. I'm like, I'm gonna take you out, and we're gonna hit as many houses, and it was like 8 o'clock, and I was
Oh my
still
god, don't
going,
feel
and
bad.
she was probably so cold. Though it was so cold this year,
Last year.
and she was dressed up like a fireman, so I was like, I a firewoman, sorry, and I felt kind of bad because I pushed this last little bit, and she was shivering. She
She
was
had
so cold.
frostbite. That's actually how she lost her arm.
Yeah, that's that happens. Um, I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah, so I would use my costume to tie it, which often was, and I don't know whose idea this was, but I was super into it, was being an accident victim. So we would always dress me up and like wrap my stump in like gauze and then make it like all bloody, make it look like I had cuts all over my face and stuff like that. And people always believed it. So it was honestly, I thought it was a really fun time. I loved it.
That sounds fun.
But yeah, when you're in a wheelchair, it makes trick or treating a lot more difficult, especially back then. Now people are so like woke and open minded that they're very much understanding that there's other types of things. They're not like making kids come up and be like, you have to say trick or treat. You gotta come up these stairs to get this candy. So it's a little nicer and easier, I think, now, hopefully, anyways, than it was back in my day where my poor brother was like, no, my sister really is missing a limb. But my Halloween costume, I always remember it was annoying because I would want to be like a butterfly or something cute, and then I would get stuck in a wheelchair where like costumes don't really accommodate. So my mom made all my costumes for me as a kid growing up.
Every year I
Yeah,
see on social media, I see kids in wheelchairs that come up with like the best costumes ever.
yeah,
Where their
100%.
parents helped them, like one kid was like a Zamboni and then like a fire truck and like all this cool stuff, like using the wheelchair as part of the Halloween costume.
Yeah, I just always wanted to be a dead person, apparently. So
I've never used my amputation in part of my costumes except for once when I was a starfish.
I was like, "You liar!" But now you're telling the truth.
I definitely have. I have the chainsaw arm. I've done it a few times now.
Jamie came down. I guess we both kind of did that year. So I love to
Yes.
do theme parties or like birthday parties because people are too old to have theme parties all the time. So I've always done them for my birthday, and there was like a few years that I was struggling with the whole like scary shit, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll just, my PTSD, it was like triggering it, so I was like, I'll just keep it cool, we'll still do a theme, but we'll like pick more fun stuff. So one year we did Under the Sea,
Yep.
and Jamie came as a starfish, which was the biggest hit of the night, uh costume wise, I think. And I was a mermaid because I also felt it was fitting because like one, if I have to explain it to you, it's not as funny. So,
You either get it or you don't. So Jamie, did you have a limb that did you have as a starfish, did you have a limb that grew back or something? Or what was the deal with that?
No, one was just shorter than the other one. Because
Nice.
as you know,
Because that's
starfish can grow their limbs back.
Yeah.
oh, so you were like in the midst of growing your limb
Yeah.
back?
Yeah.
I also believe
Nice.
that was when you had first met the majority of my friends, and my
Correct.
friends are meeting their first amputee friend other than me.
Yeah. Our
So,
amputee friend. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, first time they've met an arm amputee friend and someone other than myself. So it was like super exciting for I think everybody, but my friends totally were like so pumped and obviously love Jamie because she's the coolest person ever. And if I can find those photos, then and I'm feeling brave enough because I feel very cautious, like it was,
You were very
I'd
much a
like to see
mermaid.
them.
You were very much a mermaid
yeah,
in that costume. You were very much
yeah,
a mermaid.
it was very much only my close friends were over, and it was very much I don't know if I want to show that to the rest of the world.
Yeah, no, you were very much a mermaid. So I don't know if you want to
I
show
don't
this.
get what are you guys trying to hide here?
My costume was revealing, was what we're getting.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought maybe that's what. All right,
Not
well, put a picture up.
intentionally. It was not intentionally revealing. It was just that it was very fitting to my very curvy body. So that was. It just makes it worse. If
It
I
was
was,
beautiful though.
well, thank you. I feel like if I was like a skinny mini twig, it wouldn't have been like super revealing or anything like that. It's
I think
No.
we got to
Mermaids wear
upload
bras.
some photos
Excuse
of
me.
those Halloween costumes, and we'll get more followers.
James. No. Oh, do we wrap the episode?
I think that's a wrap.
There are honestly so many things that we didn't even dive into. I had other things.
What other things? Go ahead. Tell us your things.
Am I? Well, we were just talking about.
Yeah.
There was something that happened to me in my youth days that I wanted to talk about, and that was I'm not sure if you guys ever in gym class where you remember how they used to make you climb the rope.
Nope.
Oh,
Did you guys ever have to do that? Jamie, did you have to do that?
yes.
Did
Also,
you fall and hurt yourself?
yes. Also, the arm hang where you're supposed to like hold your body weight, like on the bar.
You guys wouldn't just be exempt from something like
No,
that?
You would
I
think
tried.
so,
You would
right?
think, yeah, you would think we would.
Okay, I got exempt from stuff in gym class if I said like for most of the time I had to be like, "Yo, no, I can do this." And they'd be like, "No, it's okay. You don't have to." And
Oh,
I'd
it
be
was
like,
the
"No, like give
opposite.
me a try."
It was
Yeah.
the
So
complete opposite for me.
in grade 1, so how old was I in grade 1? Like 6, maybe 5 or 6. There was the rope climbing, and this rope went all the way to the ceiling of the gym, which was insanely high. Like some kid at 6 years old, whoever the gym teacher was that I don't remember because I was 6, thought it was a good idea for this one-arm boy to try and climb the rope like all the other kids, and I ended up obviously falling because like I don't even know how I got up to the first knot. But what happened is I couldn't hold myself up, obviously, and ended up
Yeah.
falling, and I hit my head on my head landed outside of they put these little square mats down.
Yeah.
My head landed outside of the square mat, and it hit the linoleum floor. And all I remember is blue and yellow stars. Like I got legit stars. Like, and I remember like my cousin had to come pick me up. Like my mom's cousin had to come pick me up. So like she was older, whatever, like an aunt kind of thing, had to come pick me up, and I had to stay at her house for the day because my parents were at work. Like it was an awful experience, and
It does explain so much about you now as an adult, though.
well, that wasn't the only time I hit my head. So there have been.
But
Shut up.
yeah, no, I definitely had to. The other one that we had to do was the arm hang. Sorry, my cat is yeah.
The arm
Never
hang.
apologize for pets.
Where you have to like hang off of the bar and see how long you hang there. I was like, how am I supposed to do that? Like for real?
With one arm or with both arms?
One.
Well,
Well,
I
how am
know
I supposed
that
to
was a
do it
stupid
with
question,
both?
but like other kids who had 2 hands, was that supposed to be
Yes.
2
supposed to be
hands?
both.
Every kid would hold on with 2 hands?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just stupid then.
Correct.
So normally in our gym class, we would have to walk around the block first before we started like whatever activity we were doing, and I was always exempt from that. I never had to walk around the block, and I was like, "You're damn right," because I don't have energy to do the activity after. The warm up is the exercise for me, so we got bigger battles. Plus, it would have taken me like 3 times longer, and then everyone would have had to wait to start the activity. So it just made more sense to chill with the gym teacher or whoever else was like out on injury or sick until everyone came back. And then, but that was like in high school because I took gym all through high school because I loved it so much. But I will say there was one time where as a kid I wasn't allowed to be, well, I didn't necessarily always get on sports teams because I had one leg, and sometimes they would tell me that, or they would put me on the team and then say, "Well, we're going to put you on the team, but you're going to be like our cheerleader." So I didn't
Yeah.
really ever play until like I remember one time in volleyball, I think I was like in grade 8, and they finally gave me a chance. They'd let me play sometimes in like the fourth round where it was like a fun round that didn't count at that point. And when I played, they actually were shocked because I have such a strong upper body that I was able to, I think the term is spike a ball. It's been a minute since I've followed volleyball, but I could hit it so hard that we would like instantly get a point. No one knew, like the speed of it was just crazy for that age group. So then when they realized that, they're like, "Oh crap, let's start putting Amanda on when we know that's going to work to our advantage." And realistically, all they had to do was make sure my right side was covered, which was only a problem when I'm on the left side of the court, that I can't go favor to the right and like jump that direction. So usually it was like that side, we just have to like tighten people up a little bit in certain areas and it worked just fine. But when I went to high school, the coach literally said, "I can't put you on the team because you're just not fast enough to get to the ball." So that made me sad. And so then that was what really actually inspired me to start being a sports manager, which then led into a career of me doing management for 16 years, even into my adulthood. So that teacher that made me that said to me, "Oh, you can't do that because you have one leg," actually just kind of pushed me and motivated me through the rest of my life. So take
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Going back to what we said earlier about newspapers, I I had an interviewer as a child. I have two stories here. So I had an interviewer come, or a reporter come to my house as a child. Um, and this is one of the most vivid memories I have of doing an interview as a child that ticked me off, is that I had this guy come in, and again, he wanted to talk about teasing and all that stuff, but he was asking me the names that kids call me, and he was making up names as he was going. And my dad will remember this because he's the one that always tells me this story. He was so pissed off at this reporter, he
No
wanted to kick
kidding.
him out of the house because he was like coming up with new things that the kids could call me or that I had never been called before. So he's like, he's rhyming off all these like names, like name calling names. Did the kids call you this and that? And then he comes up with one. He said, "Did they ever call you Flipper?" And that's when my dad got really pissed off, and he had cut the guy off, I think, to get him on here to tell you the story. But it's when he called me Flipper. Like that's so mean, man. Like why would, like, it was that
Also,
one.
why would you be Flipper? You're an arm amputee, not a leg amputee. Like
I don't
Flipper
know.
makes more sense.
Does it if you're an arm amputee? I don't know, but it was Flipper
Oh, I
that
don't
that
know.
pissed us off so much. So he comes in the house, and of course my dad's there because I'm just a kid. And yeah, so I had an interviewer come in and basically start insulting me and coming up with like bullying names on the spot for me.
Do they call you Nubby McLoser?
They call you, yeah, exactly. They call you, yeah, I don't even know. I can't even. Like, do they call you one hand tin can man? Like, yeah, actually, there's one kid that does. You guys love the one hand tin can man. I don't know. That episode got ruined. I don't know if anyone ever even heard that.
Oh, I don't know.
The
If it,
audio on that episode, people, yeah. So there was a bully I had as a
no, we
kid.
played that one, I think. We
I don't
did
know.
that. I think.
I beat him in knockout boxing. He's my best friend. I beat him in knockout boxing on a sleepover. The next day, I was one hand tin can man, and he made fun of me. He became my enemy, my arch rival.
It is the
I'm sure
most
he's in
amazing
jail or
name.
dead, so
That
that's
is the
okay.
most amazing name, honestly.
The one hand at the time, I honestly didn't like it because I was 12 or 11, and it was I don't even understand it. I guess like it, but it rhymes, so it is kind of funny now looking back. It's hilarious. The one hand Tin Can Man. Like I'll rock that name now. I should almost thank him for calling me that. It made me stronger.
If it's not on your tombstone, I'm going to be disappointed. That's all I got to say.
And when it comes to going back to interviews, I have a visual to show you. Like it's a funny picture of when we were kids. We would take kids around our neighborhood and like point out like all the dangerous areas and stuff. And there was like a newspaper. There was a newspaper there that was taking pictures or whatever. And so like my mom's in this picture pointing out that there was a train track close to where I grew up, like near my house. And my mom was pointing it out. It was actually all my cousins that went on this little walk around the block with us. But so the newspaper reporter snapped a photo of my mom showing me and all my cousins the train, and there happens to be a train going by at the time, and it couldn't have been more perfect timing that my brother is actually climbing the fence in the background. So I'm gonna show that photo because it's hilarious. I don't know if you can. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
You can kind of see behind my brother or behind my cousin. My brother is actually climbing the fence. There's my mom. Very young, early 20s mother, and then I'm on the side right here, Mini James with my myoelectric arm. So that was just a fun story. My mom always, I can't even believe I still have the photo of that, but it's just so hilarious that she's pointing out, a danger.
You should get that framed and put it with your procrastination awards.
I should. They're certificates of appreciation, okay? Okay? They're
amazing.
So I've been appreciated many times.
When?
I think that's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure that you hit the like button as well as subscribe to our channel. You're going to want to make sure that you hit that little bell notification so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. You can find us on all social media at Some Parts Not Included. And if you got any comments for us, questions, toss them down in the comment section below and we'll try and address them to our upcoming show. And in the meantime, bye!
Bye, everyone!
Cheers.